Today, let's talk about how to prepare for IELTS on your own. We're going to consider 3 points. So let's get started. The first point is that you need to know your initial band, and not just the band, or possibly you can have the range. For example, to enter a foreign university, probably you've got this range 6.5 to 7. So then you should know that probably there are some specific requirements for some definite part of the exam. So for example, Canadian immigrants, according to some program, need to have 8 for listening, 777 for other parts of the exam. It's crucial to know which band you need to have, either 6 or 8 for instance, because there is a huge gap between 6 and 8. Though it looks like it is quite short, that just 2 bands, but in life, right, it's absolutely a massive difference in preparation. If you need 6, it is just one way. If you need 8, it is absolutely the other. So let's move on. The second point that we need to talk about is that you've got to define your initial level of language. You need to take an IELTS format test and do it. But if we talk about reading and listening, for instance, you would agree that it is quite straightforward to do. You take IELTS Cambridge book, let's say number 16, do a test from here. If we talk about reading, I would recommend you do it in the, first of all, without the set time, just to get familiar with the format of the exam, and secondly with the set time. After that, you need to convert the number of your correct answers using a special conversion scale. This information is available on the internet, it's not confidential. Then we do the same with the listening section. You do the listening section and also convert your band. And say for instance you get 6.5. We need this number just for calculation. As for writing and speaking, the productive parts of the exam, it is much more difficult to do it on your own. So what we can do, we can kind of shoot in the dark, because we need at least approximate band. So we can just deduct a band or half a band from your reading or listening score. So you got 6.5 here. Shooting in the dark, with let's say that your productive parts of the exam are typically lower than reproductive, right? So let's say that for writing you will have 6, right? And for speaking also 6, for instance. Or another way to do it, you can actually scrutinize the band descriptors and understand whether these band descriptors describe really the level of yours, or they're not quite appropriate. So what I mean is, so if you need to get band 7, for instance, you open the band descriptors and look at the speaking section, read all the features for band 7 and understand whether you possess all the features, or if one of them lacks, it means already that you've got band 6, not higher. The same with the rating section. So we have shot in the dark and we understood at least the approximate band. The third point to do is to sketch your roadmap. So how we are going to approach it? So in terms of reading, you need to do reading tests from a special book. What I mean special is I recommend you using the book IELTS Cambridge 16, 15 and so other. So I will probably attach some of them to this video. And you need to understand your weak points, right? And just channel all your energy sorry, to working at these weak points. So you need to understand which kind of tasks exist in this reading section and which are the ones which you struggle with. So typically it is true false not given and matching different information headings, matching sentence endings, but you need to understand it for yourself. So then, as for the listening section, you are going to do the same to understand which part is the hardest and to channel all your efforts into that. Typically, it can be the lecture at the end of the listening section. So why? Because it is quite a long piece of information that you've got to listen, and you have to practice focusing your attention for a long term. So the next thing is Of course, you need to know some information about reading strategies, listening strategies, or as they're called, life hacks, because sometimes it can really help you to progress better. But don't rely on them too much. If you have quite a low or insufficient level of language, no matter how many life hacks you have and apply, it will not increase your band dramatically. Okay, so then, as I have already mentioned, I recommend you to do the test from the book, which is entitled IELTS Cambridge 16, 15, and so on. So, why it is necessary? Because you've got here past exam papers from the previous exams, right? So, it is a very trustworthy source of information. Sometimes students really ask questions about why this is the answer to this question, why is this is the one, and I at this point typically ask, and what book you are using. If you use IELTS Cambridge test, you will not have questions like that because the source is trustworthy. So, having done reading section, you of course need to work at your mistakes, analyze them. So when you do the reading section, bear in mind that you would probably need not an hour just to do the test, but plus 15 minutes to analyze your mistakes, to make notes, and to transfer some new words into your Quizlet. When I say some, I mean that you shouldn't transfer some technical words. There are always technical words in reading section. By saying technical, I mean that there are some words which you can actually, the meaning of which you can guess according to the context. So these can be the names of tools, some materials, and so on. So it's not necessary actually to learn them. It's useless. You'd better learn some words which you really believe that necessary, right, which are interesting, and especially the ones which you have already encountered many times, but you still understand that you don't remember the meaning of the word or how to use it. Okay, so having accomplished listening, you need also to work at your mistakes. It is obvious, right? And what else you can do? You can do spelling dictations. So if you see that you've got any spelling mistakes, what you do? You take your telephone and start recording. You record the words with the voice recorder, the list of words where you made mistakes. Then you re-listen to your recording and write down these words again. So it's absolutely autonomous work. You need nobody to do that. Just something, your telephone. Okay, so talking about writing, yeah, again, it's a bit more challenging, but let's still approach it. Surely you need not to approach this task just thoughtlessly. Start to write essays, write them. You need to understand that there is some theory that you've got to learn. What I mean by saying theory, so you need to know the essay types. You need to know the graph and letters types. It depends on which module you take. This theoretical information is really crucial for you to know because it will help you to increase your such band descriptor as task achievement. It cannot be ignored, it cannot be neglected. It is as crucial in rating as your lexis and grammar. So you get 25% for all the four band descriptors in the rating section. So task achievement, coherence and cohesion, lexis, grammar. So please keep in mind that no matter how grammatically accurate you write, there is such a criteria as task achievement, and you need special preparation to conquer these criteria. Okay, so then you need to write, according to my practice, at least 10 essays covering different types of essays. The same work can be done with graphs. There are also about 8-10 graphs. You should try and write every type of graph, not to risk, not to go to the exam hoping and praying that you will not get a map or diagram. As for letters, it depends on your level. Sometimes it's even quite alright if you write just 4 letters, yeah, because we need to practice 3 types of tones: formal, semi-formal, and informal, and just one more to be sure that you've got a stable result. Okay, so then there is such a point as cliches, whether we can use cliches in rating or not. So, if you want to get 6.5 and lower, it is absolutely appropriate to use cliches to learn some phrases, sometimes even sentences, and include them into your paper. Don't overdo with them, of course. But if you talk about band 7 and over, you still can use cliches, but these cliches are kind of very different. By cliches, I mean here that you need to learn some patterns of sentences which will help you, for instance, to write your introduction or conclusion much quicker. Yeah, not to spend too much time on these parts of your written paper. So, this is not the whole sentence, these are just some patterns, some wordings that can help you. Okay, and the last point to talk about, my favorite part of the exam, speaking. How you need to prepare. Surely you need to know the format of the exam and the timing of every part of the exam. How you can approach this task independently or almost independently. You can try and find a person with whom you are going to practice IELTS speaking, but there are two things that you have to bear in mind. First of all, this person should have the same level of language as you have, and secondly, the level of motivation should be ideally also be the same. Okay, and one more thing, yeah. Initially, when you start your speaking preparation, you can use a voice recorder. So you prepare, for instance, initially you prepare different parts of the exam, record yourself, re-listen, correct mistakes, probably with the dictionary, and record yourself again. You would say that it's a really tedious task. Yes, I agree, but initially it can give you some progress, right? At some point you will understand that it's not working anymore, but you need to approach this point. So initially it can be effective. So probably that's all what I wanted to say today. So keep in touch. Bye bye.